welcome to Homeschool That Works, where we offer practical encouragement for homeschooling families. I'm Keely.
I'm Marie, and you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, and anywhere podcasts are found, as well as homeschoolthatworks.com.
Thanks for joining us today. I'm Keely.
I'm Marie.
Today we're going to be talking about who we are, why we homeschool, our homeschool backgrounds, and who we are outside of being homeschool moms. Okay, so tell me about your educational background.
So my background is a little bit scattered. I grew up, I did public school, I did private Christian school, and we did homeschool. So I was able to kind of see the differences in all of the different methods of education. And then going into college, I went into early childhood education because it always interested me. So going into a background with that kind of opened my eyes to all of the different methods of education, whether it's traditional schooling or whether it's like Charlotte Mason or all of these other philosophies. And I just think it's a really interesting topic that I like to learn more on. And it's always been something that interested me.
That's awesome. So for me, I was homeschooled 1 year, my sophomore year of high school, and then other than that, it was just in public school. So kindergarten through 9th, and then 11th and 12th. And I actually, for my 11th and 12th year, went to what they would call a continuation school.
Okay.
And so my education is not like the standard. I missed a lot of school growing up. Nobody's specifically at fault for that, but it definitely didn't do me any good. Mm-hmm. And so I've really only seen two sides of it. I didn't get the private school side, but I did really see how much I disliked being in public school. Right. I never felt like I was actually learning and absorbing what was being taught. There was just like the surface level of, I know how to pass a test. Yeah. And there was no memorization of things or diving in deeper.
Yeah.
And so that really affected when I started having kids, what do I really want for their education? What's important to me?
You felt like you wanted to give them a little bit more than what you had experienced.
Yeah, more, and also be able to really choose the curriculum that they're being taught, and be able to, like, if they're interested in a certain topic, go deeper into that, and not just be like, well, it's not on the schedule for school this year, so sorry, we don't get to learn that.
Right. I think that is one thing that homeschooling does offer families, is that freedom to give their kids the opportunity to follow their interests.
Yes.
More of an interest-led education, because we're not all going to be this great at all the things. Everyone has their own unique talents and strengths and weaknesses, and if we can kind of help our kids along with the weaknesses, but also let them really shine with their strengths, who knows better how to do that than parents?
Yeah, because we really know their individual characteristics of where they struggle and where they shine, and how to push them or pull back and go, okay, this is going too far, it's enough.
Yeah. Whereas some kids might do really well in that public school setting, but a lot of them are kind of just pushed into learning what's supposed to be on the test, or just getting through a class, and they're never really encouraged to go deeper into what they're interested in, or even follow some of the other questions that they may have on a subject. It's really just, the goal is just to get them to learn a certain amount of things, put it on a test, and then move on.
Yeah, for the schools, really their scoring systems, to be able to see where kids are at. And when you learn in a way that helps you to actually enjoy what you're learning, you really do remember it better. And when it's not just about passing a test, that stress is off. Now, it's important to know how to pass tests, but that's not the only thing that we want to aim for in our homeschool.
Because you are going to have tests at different points in your life, but if you think about it, when you grow up and you graduate, you move on in the real world. When does anyone sit you down and say, I'm going to give you a test on this? What did you learn? Let's see, and I'm going to score you. So, I mean, it's kind of setting up an artificial environment, I think.
Yeah, there's
and
less
slapping
like,
the label. Yeah, slapping the label of education on it. And if you think back, what does education really mean? That's a big question. And there's a
That's
lot
a
of
really big
different
question.
answers to that.
Yeah, and not that public school is wrong.
Right.
For some families, it's a good fit. But where homeschooling is unique is that you have that freedom to choose what does fit your family, even if it's duplicating public school at home or being completely opposite and being an unschooler.
Well, and even if that traditional school setting works for your kids and works for you, even having the option to do it at home also gives you flexibility in your schedule, and it gives your kids the opportunity to work at their own pace.
Yeah.
So that if they want to take on other things that they're interested in, they can do that as well.
Yeah, and if you have a child who struggles like with reading or mathematics and they need more time than a 30-minute block to finish that work, you can really take as long as you are okay with as the parent giving them. There's no, well, you know what, you didn't finish that in 10 minutes, so it's time to move on, and you'll just have to figure that out on your own.
Absolutely, yeah. So, when your family started considering homeschool, what was the biggest reason or the most important thing that you wanted to get out of it?
So it was kind of funny. I remember before we had kids having this discussion, like, I am not sending my children to public school. My experience was not pleasant, and I'm not doing that to my kids. And so the beginning of it was, well, I don't want them to have that public school experience, be bullied and picked on, or feel ashamed of who they are. I mean, I still want them to get real world experience and be cultured and have relationships. But that was a very big concern. But then once I actually had children, it turned to really want what they learned to be centered on the focus of Christ. And that was what became really the number one reason. And I really felt that we only have them for 18 years, and it goes by so fast. And I don't want to lose that time with them when I feel that God could really equip me to teach them at home. So those would be my big reasons of why we decided to homeschool. What about you?
And those are some good reasons. Ours are similar. Obviously, we want to teach them our faith and our beliefs in God as well, which is something that's not as acceptable in a public school setting. So since those are important to us, we want to show our kids that it is important too, so that hopefully someday they can make their own choices to follow what we believe or not. So our faith is definitely a big reason. Also, being a military spouse, we move around a lot. And homeschooling actually offers more consistency than
There's no
having them move in the middle of a school year, or just moving in the summertime and having to start all over again. My husband remembers moving around as a child, and although he wasn't military, he found that every school had its own rules. It had its different curriculum. So, even handwriting. He always tells me some schools would have him write the little tail on the end of some, and some said, no, that was straight wrong. Line. You have to do a straight line. So even handwriting, he had, you have to go into a new school and figure out what are the rules here. And just hearing that makes me think there is not an exact right or wrong for some of those things, but giving your kids consistency can help them really excel a little bit more.
If you're not, science shows that consistency and stable environment are good for children, and so that definitely is a really good bonus point. And I get what your husband's talking about. I was thinking, I went to 8 different schools from kindergarten to high school, not including college time, so that was a lot to move around. And it's true that every teacher, school, they all have different rules and regulations that they want you as a child to follow, and that can be overwhelming.
Yeah, especially if you are a personality like my husband or my son, who they thrive on that consistency, and they really want to do things well. So wherever they are, the right way. It's got to be the right way for them. So wherever they are, they want to follow the rules. So if you take them out of an environment where they felt like they were doing well, you put them in a new environment where everything's different, they're going to shut down a little bit. My son definitely shuts down a little bit in new environments. He just needs time to take it in. So offering him this consistency in what we're doing gives him a safe environment to kind of pursue his interests and push him a little bit more in some of the areas that he's a little uncomfortable, because he knows he's in a safe environment.
And
All of the other things are going to stay the same. It's not going to be changing all the time. And we can help him along with some of the things that he needs help with, or we can just let him go with what he's good at.
Yeah, that safe environment is a really big deal. If a child feels safe, they are way more open to who they are and to putting their full effort forward versus like going inward and being nervous or afraid. That safe environment really is a huge factor of, not that, you know, if you homeschool, you'll have that back. That's something you're offering your child. Right. So you're in the safety of your home with a parent who loves you. And if you're having a struggle or an issue with something, you can bring it forward without worry or fear that you're going to be in trouble for not understanding something. I definitely remember being in different schools as a child myself and just being afraid to ask for help for something. Yeah,
or
like
just
you're
fear of being embarrassed or being perceived as not being
as smart as you.
Not being as smart as everyone, or just like, why am I not getting it and someone else does? So giving them a safe environment to come to you and ask for help, or just, you know, be who they are and explore their strengths and weaknesses is a huge factor for us for homeschooling.
So tell me a little bit of who you are outside of being a homeschool mom.
So it's always kind of a funny question because, you know, you're mom 24/7. It's hard to say, well, who are you outside of that? Because after being a mom for so many years now, it's like that's your defining factor. Yeah. But I do also work a few jobs from home. I'm the director of our kids' homeschool group, which meets once a week, and our kids absolutely love it. And there are groups across the nation, across the world, and so we love getting plugged into whatever group we are moving to. And my kids have instant friends. They know what the curriculum is, and it just helps them go with that. So I'm directing this year, and it's been a challenge, but it's also been very eye-opening and a growing experience. So that is one thing I'm doing. And then I also work as well part-time with a few different online companies, helping them create content for their websites and some marketing and stuff. So definitely working from home, it's very busy. You have to be very intentional about your time, but it allows me to pursue a few of my interests as well as being home with my children.
Yeah, and that is nice to be able to work but also be home and homeschool. So for me, well, I work outside of the home and sometimes inside of the home. So outside of the home, grocery store stalker, but also homeschool mom. It's like a weird combination of, you know, because most people think you can't work outside the home and homeschool, but that's not the truth. You can work outside of the home or work inside of the home and still homeschool, but it is very much about time management. Prioritizing and just finding what works for you, and then outside of that, we, you know, serve the Lord as much as we can and tend to stay very busy with that. And then when we do have free time, I like to go thrift shopping and collect books.
And I'm right there with you.
We just join each other and waste the hours finding the fun things at a discount.
Treasure hunting, right? The thrift store.
What did we call it? Thrift-schooling?
Thrift schooling.
Yeah, thrift schooling.
Thrift schooling.
Find our school resources at a discount.
Yes. We should start a new group.
Hashtag thrift schooling. Yes, I agree.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's probably one of the enjoying parts that I have, especially if we can sneak away from the kids and go and really take our time, just go through the whole store, and I very much so enjoy that. But even going with them is still enjoyable.
Yeah, and our kids just love their time together anyway, so they always think
it works out well.
Yeah, but I agree. It is a lot about time management when you're trying to do all the things. And you also have to learn how to say no to some things.
Hard one.
Yeah, because we always want to do all the things, and sometimes you have to realize you have to even schedule time in to not do anything.
That's a big one. I will go and burn out if I haven't been like, we're just gonna watch TV one time this week. We're gonna enjoy watching TV and relax, and then we can get back to the busy hustle and bustle of working and homeschooling. And even during the summer, as a homeschool family, you're still prepping for your following year.
It really doesn't ever stop.
School. Yeah, it does not stop. Well, if you want to be prepared, some people don't do it throughout the summer and just right before, but I tend to slow pace work through the summer and get what we need together
done. Yeah,
because it's less overwhelming, I guess.
Yeah, take some of that burden off when you're trying to do a last minute deadline kind of thing.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I'm not a last minute person where I like to hurry up at the very end and get it done. That stresses me out.
I feel like if I'm in a scramble to get things done, usually something slips through the crack, or I don't do things as well as could be done. So I definitely agree. I like to have things done in advance.
Yeah.
But just being aware of how busy you are, and sometimes when you're going to need a rest, it almost it reminds me of what God has set up for us with the 6 days of creation and then 7th day of resting. It's good to get out there and work and glorify the Lord with what we're doing.
Yeah.
But it's also good to step back and take a rest sometimes.
And enjoy the glory and beauty around you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That is a very good part. And also, if you don't ever take a step back to rest, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice, because if you don't enjoy the fruits of your labor, eventually you'll get to the point where it's not enjoying your style of homeschooling or what you're doing for work anymore. And I found that with myself. When I go too hard and fast and long, I get to the point where I'm like, I just don't want to do this anymore. And then I have to remind myself, why did you want to do this in the first place?
Yeah.
Why is it important to you? And what do you need to refocus and recenter in order to keep moving forward?
Exactly. That is a big thing that I would say to those who are considering homeschool, is make sure you know your why. Why are you doing this? Why is it important? And then when those busy seasons come up where you're just running on fumes, take a step back. It's okay to take a break and ask yourself, why? What is my why? And then kind of refocus.
Yeah, if you recenter yourself with that question, I feel like you kind of have this moment where you're like, okay, I remember now, and it's gonna all be okay. Because if you're being truthful, homeschooling is not always beautiful.
No, it's hard work.
It is hard work, and it takes dedication and time and passion and love and sweat and tears.
Yeah.
But it's so rewarding.
It's rewarding, and I remind myself all the time that it's not just my kids that are learning.
Oh yeah.
It's me that's learning how much they can take on, how much I can take on, what's gonna work, what's not gonna work.
As well as re-educating yourself as an adult. That's been a big thing of learning with my children, and not just read the textbook, work through it. I'm educating myself right alongside of them, and that may be a shocking factor to some people, you're learning with your children, but there are things that they're learning in science and history and math that I'm I don't remember learning this.
Absolutely.
And now I need to learn it before they do, so that I can be a help to them.
Yeah. And if you think about it, nobody ever really stops learning. You can't know exactly what your children's lives are going to be. No. You have to trust that the Lord is going to give them experience, and trust that He's going to equip you as a parent to give them what they need. But even when they get out in the real world, which I would argue homeschoolers are more so in the real world.
Because their learning environment is everything around them. It's not just a classroom setting.
But when they get out there, there's going to be things that they didn't learn. And if you give them the confidence that they can learn it, they'll be able to pick it up much faster than if it comes as a shock to them.
Yep.
So,
even with us starting a podcast and a YouTube channel, there are learning curves to that. So anything
So many things.
It's true. Anything you want to set out to do as an adult, there is some aspect of learning at all times.
Yeah.
And you encourage that spirit of you continue your education through the rest of your life.
Right.
It really will benefit you instead of being like, well, I'm 18, I
Yeah.
graduated,
Yeah.
I'm done. No.
Never have to do anything else. Never
Yeah.
read a book again.
Oh,
That's such a
it
tragedy.
hurts my heart to hear that.
There are so many things that it take a lifetime to learn, and so I love that phrase, being a lifetime learner, because that's really
It never
what
ends.
we should be doing.
Well, especially as Christians, we're disciples throughout our life. We are
Yeah.
discipled throughout our life. And we are to continue to learn and grow in the Lord.
Absolutely.
And that knowledge never stops. And that really applies to our lives. We're to continue to grow and learn and not just step back and say, well, I'm just here to consume at this point what other people are going to.
I mean, you could think about it as even your personal devotions. You could read through the whole Bible and say, I read it, I know it, done. But every time you go back to a different passage, something else is going to jump out at you.
Yes.
Or maybe something that you know, but you haven't experienced it yet. When you get to those experiences, you're going to look at that passage in a much deeper way. So we're always learning. God's always putting experience and things in our path that's going to teach us new things. So we have to be open to saying, I don't know it all.
Yes, and that's the truth. It's not a shameful or humiliating thing to say that, you know, I don't know this and it's something that I need to research and learn and understand.
And if our children see us doing that, they can see that it's okay not to have all the answers because we know how to get the answers.
Yes.
We're going to go look up our resources, we're going to go ask people who know, and we're going to figure it out. So if they really have the mindset of I can learn and I know how to learn, they will learn.
They will, that's absolutely right.
It's not about knowing how to write your letters perfectly. It's not knowing how to have all the different formulas memorized. It's just, how do I figure out and how do I go forward with what I need to know?
Yes. Well, this was a great discussion.
Yeah.
And I am so thankful we got together to do this. And
we could go on forever.
Oh, we could. It would be hours long.
That's why we'll have more episodes coming up.
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching today. Make sure you give a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Also, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already and tap the bell for notifications so you never miss another video from us.
Thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.